Back down the yard, just started bolting up these horrible deck join bits and pieces. Got some A4 stainless bolts which are around here somewhere. Show you what's going on. So yeah, here's what I'm using. They're M6, the hex flathead, and I'm just got a whole load of them here. So I'm not sure whether, hopefully they're going to be long enough. I think that's about that's 40 mil with a countersunk head. Now these are A4. If you go for the A2, it's slightly different composition, so they're not best for the marine environment. Whereas the A4 ones are slightly more tolerable to seawater corrosion and the like. But yeah, you can just see the stamp on the top there. Oh, if I can focus. There we go. So I'm going to bung them in there, and then on the other side is going to be an anti-vibe nut on there. So what I'm going to do is fix these at 30 centimetre intervals. That one's an anomaly because there was an existing hole there. I might just take that out and fill it, but I'm not sure yet. But either or, the original design for the hurley was, well, most boats is 30 centimetres to fix that and drill it in place. Now what I've got is some mastic, which I'm going to use. I'm not going to use butyl tape. I can squeeze the sealant mastic right in to the hole there, and then I'm just going to leave that to set before tightening up the nut from inside. That way that'll squeeze all that mastic, and then as I tighten it up. So that's the plan of action. I am very surprised that my cover is still on after all the wind we've had. Hopefully that'll dry out some of this rain that we've been having. The boat is really nice and dry, and the bleach seems to be holding back the mould, which is superb. And now really I'm at the phase where I'm just going to fill in as much gunk as I can into these holes and around that countersunk area. Leave it to sort of set, and then go in the inside and tighten it up so that they're all nicely secured, and that deck joint is gonna tighten up, which is cool. So my initial thoughts were to install a rubber rubbing strake, but then on second thoughts, I just thought that wood would just look better, and just seemed like the more natural option, I suppose. So I sourced 6 sections of 2.2 metre offcut from a local timber merchant, and these are like European oak cuts, which I was quite lucky to find them. Really, they were slightly wider than the rubber strake size, so I need to thin them down a little bit before actually fitting. So I've got a table saw there ready to go. Some of the edges of the offcuts were a little bit damaged, so intended to cut that side down so that eventually they wouldn't even be visible. So the 3 sections for each side, and there'd be 2 scarf joints along that section, which I'd bond with West Systems epoxy and filler, adhesive filler. As you can see, there's only a very small amount cut off these, but you've got a straighter edge on one side, so I've got that up against the flat bar there, and just they were nice and straight all the way down. There's actually a slight curve in that section. I don't know if you noticed, but I actually used that to along the curve of the hull, which was quite handy. It's also got a you can angle the blade on this table saw as well, so it's quite handy for the cutting the scarf joints at a 45-degree angle. I wasn't sure whether 45 was going to be enough for this this scarf joint, but seemed to work. West Systems is a really powerful bonding agent. I'm just using digital scales for the measure up of the resin and the hardener. I find the pumps from West Systems just they gum up sometimes after a little while on the shelf. So yeah, these scales are like, I don't know, about £6, £7, something like that. So you can get a really good accurate measure of part A and part B. It's a 5-to-1 ratio mix. So usually I'd mix about like 25 grams of resin and then 5 of a hardener, but I've gone over a little bit there. Best to mix this up in small amounts. It's surprising how little you actually need. Always looks like hardly anything in the bottom of the pot, but when you actually start using it, you suddenly realise how much of it you've actually got. And it's expensive stuff, so yeah, it's best to use sparingly, I think. So I've just flattened out or just laid out these 3 sections as level as possible for the gluing operation. So once the 2 parts of epoxy are mixed up, you apply just the raw mix first to the surfaces. That's what I'm doing here. And then you let that surface go tacky. It takes about sort of 20 minutes, I think, between 20 and 30 minutes. Around sort of 10 degrees, 15 degrees, a little bit longer here because it's quite cold. And then you add the adhesive to the rest of the mix. And then put it onto those surfaces once they've gone tacky. So yeah, nice thick mix there, just so it's not runny. You don't want a runny mix; it just goes everywhere and sticks to everything. It's horrible. I was just using a bit of shopping bag there, just stop any glue from laying on the table saw there. If it sticks to it, it doesn't matter. Like when it's gone hard, you can just take the bag off and yeah, just sand down anything that's stuck to the wood. Usually, if you've got a bit of red on the bag, it's usually the only thing that ends up transferring over, but it's easily sanded off. It's a bit of a fiddly job, this. I could have probably laid it on a flat surface, but there wasn't really much in the way of a flat surface. You usually lay it on a nice flat ground and put some weight on it, but the problem with that is then you can't see exactly what's going on with the joint, if it's shifted to the left or right or up and down. So I've done it this way so you can actually see what the joint is doing. Just keep an eye on it while at the early stages. It's a little bit fiddly getting the clamps on. I'll just use a section of wood here just as a sort of a flat edge, really. And then it was a case of just leaving it to set. It took quite a long time to set. One of the other things I needed to do was make some wooden plugs for the holes in the hull joint once the rail was in position. So I mean, you can buy the plugs online, but I thought I'd just buy the tool and make my own, and I could make as many as I wanted. Using like the end pieces of the actual timber I'd bought, so I got the colour just right and everything, so you can't even see where the holes are in the rubbing rail.
Just give them a bit of a sand down just to soften the edges and the sides, and they're sort of good to go. I also made a small little section of some of the offcuts of the wood just to keep an eye on the epoxy and glue them all together. It just saves me from playing around with the joint. So I kind of jumped forward a little bit. I didn't get much footage of actually fitting the rails because it was a bit of a pain on my own, to be honest. But yeah, eventually I got them on there and in position, and yeah, bolted through the hull.
So I've just finished the rubbing Strake. First time having a go at this. It's not an easy job, but especially not when the weather's hurling it down at you every 5 minutes. But I don't think I've done too bad. A few little tips I think is to definitely do this with somebody else to give you a hand, and yeah, pick a better day. I think are the two big ones.